I'm Shannon Martin. Tonight, a new report says foreign government interference is a real and growing threat in Canada, but stops short of calling for a full public inquiry.
A public review of classified intelligence simply cannot be done.
David Johnston's report comes after allegations of Chinese government interference in our election. We'll have full reaction to the findings. Plus,
the program will offer eligible travelers an improved screening experience with specific benefits at security screening checkpoints.
Details on a new verified traveler program that's coming to Pearson and a number of other Canadian airports. And
I think I want to ignite the debate and the policy discussion to move the Liberal Party back to the centre.
Bonnie Crombie on what she hopes to bring to the Ontario Liberal Party leadership. Thanks for joining us. Big news out of Ottawa tonight. The former Governor General is ruling out a formal inquiry, but says public hearings should be held into foreign interference in Canadian elections. David Johnston releasing his interim report. The reaction from the opposition was swift. Rafi Boudjikanian kicks off our coverage.
On the key question of whether there should be a public inquiry into foreign interference, David Johnston said no, knowing that would raise eyebrows.
When I began this process, I thought I would come to the same conclusion. It would have been an easy choice. It would not be the correct one.
He says that's because much of the intel he studied to draw up his report is classified top secret. Johnston was asked to look into foreign interference after multiple media reports alleged meddling by Beijing to favor a minority Liberal government in the last two Canadian elections, sinking Conservative candidates, largely based on leaked security agency documents and unnamed sources.
I don't think there was any conscious desire to suppress and to diminish this. I think it was clear that we have not acted as quickly and as thoroughly as we have as a threat that has been growing.
Johnston noted he interviewed CSIS officials and top civil servants, saying he saw no evidence of a plan by the Chinese government. On another allegation, Conservative MP Michael Chong had his Hong Kong-based family targeted by a Chinese diplomat 2 years ago. Johnston found the intelligence was not shared with cabinet by national security agencies, part of a larger problem, he says.
I have identified serious shortcomings in the way intelligence is communicated and processed from security agencies through to government.
Johnston says opposition parties should get top secret clearance to look at the classified part of his report to see if they agree with his findings, something the Conservatives are already shooting down.
We're not going to allow the government to silence leaders of the opposition by swearing them to secrecy on this matter of grave public importance.
I don't think Canadians would want or expect any of their leaders to choose ignorance when they can choose to have the facts laid out for them.
Johnston does intend to hold some public hearings and write a second report by October, but none of the opposition parties say they're happy with anything but a full inquiry, suggesting pressure will just keep mounting in the months ahead. Rafi Boudjikanian on CBC News, Ottawa.
If you've had to catch a flight lately, you know security lines at Pearson can be painful and long. Well, tonight, Canada's Transport Minister is pitching some changes, including no more opening suitcases and removing clothes for some passengers. Sam Sampson explains.
Airport agony was all the drama last year. Lost luggage, delayed and canceled flights. Ottawa doesn't want a season 2.
I know a lot of people have now lost confidence or are suspecting or questioning the ability, being skeptical about the ability of the institutions to service them.
Ottawa says part of the solution, a new verified traveler program, an attempt to streamline airport security check-ins. Starting in June, 6 airports will have new dedicated security lines for these program members getting on domestic and international flights.
The whole idea is to speed things along when you're in security. So for example, if you're one of these verified travelers, you won't have to take off your jacket, you won't have to take one of these out of your bags. That way, the line moves quickly and more people get through security faster.
Military members, police, airline, and airport staff are eligible. Regular Canadians can join through Nexus, a system that already speeds up customs to and from the United States. Right now, 1.7 million people have a Nexus card, though there is a backlog and a $50 US fee for people applying to the program.
The processes and procedures that Canadians have had to endure are outdated, outmoded. Launching a program that allows trusted travelers who they already know, travelers whose data they already have, to benefit from expedited screening is a long time coming.
This year, with almost all COVID-19 rules gone, airports are expecting another massive wave of passengers.
I think it will contribute to enhanced efficiency at the airport. Will it solve all the problems, the staffing problems? No, though they have to be addressed separately, independently.
A number of airports say their staff is back to pre-pandemic levels and swear last summer won't be repeated. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto police vowed there would be no repeat of what happened last May long at Ashbridges Bay. Officers stepped up patrols, and for the most part, it worked. People were able to enjoy the fireworks as they lit up the night sky. Police say several groups did have to be escorted out, though, after officers seized their fireworks, but overall, things were pretty calm. You may remember last year, violence broke out and 24 people ended up under arrest. Well, a much different story over in Mississauga. Victoria Day celebrations ended in gunfire. 2 people are in hospital after getting shot. They are expected to survive. Linda Ward spent the day speaking with neighbors who say they're frustrated with the increasing violence.
Every year, the people who live in this townhouse complex here near Credit View and Bristol get together to put on a fireworks display on the Victoria Day long weekend. Around 9:45 last night, while dozens of people were gathered in this parkette, gunfire erupted outside 2 townhomes here. You can still see the bullet holes in 2 garage doors here. Families and small children ran for cover, leaving a man and a woman injured on the ground. I've covered many shootings, and many people will often describe it as sounding like fireworks, but I can tell you the people I've been speaking with here today say that it was a very distinct sound. We spoke with the resident who lives in the home just adjacent to the parkette here about what he heard last night.
I heard some loud bang. I was wondering what kind of firework is that so loud? And then shortly after that, I heard screaming. When I come and look through the window, I see like some people on the ground. People running away, vehicles start driving away like crazy.
Peel police say the victims were taken to hospital in life-threatening condition. They've since stabilized, but their injuries are quite serious. Police laid dozens of evidence markers, some for shell casings, some for spent fireworks debris, through the scene. They're now canvassing the neighborhood for information and video that might help them figure out how many people were involved and where they went. Residents of this neighborhood say they're scared and fed up with the group that hangs out in this complex.
Like when we were living here in the beginning, there was not really this much problems. Like we didn't have a lot of police presence in the area before, but the last couple of years, unfortunately, it's gotten a little worse.
I was waiting for something like this to happen. It was always getting out of hand. I complained many times before. I don't complain anymore.
While Peel police say this wasn't random and they have no concern for public safety, that's cold comfort for the residents who witnessed this violence last night. Linda Ward, CBC News, Mississauga.
Meantime, 9 people are under arrest tonight after a shooting in Georgetown left 3 people injured. Halton police responding to reports of shots fired at a home on Winston Churchill north of Guelph Street last night. They found a man suffering from gunshot wounds who was taken to hospital. A short time later, 2 other men, also shot, turned up at the hospital in a car with several bullet holes in the passenger side. All 3 are in serious but stable condition. Police say they did find a suspect vehicle, arrested 4 men, and seized a gun. They say 5 more men have since been arrested in connection to the shooting. So far, there's no word yet on what charges they'll face. A man is in hospital after a shooting near Eglinton and Keele this afternoon.
Officers located a male in the parking lot behind me. The male was in his 40s. He had a gunshot wound to his stomach. He was conscious and breathing. He was transported to the hospital to be treated for his injuries.
It happened right around the lunch hour. Police say there was some kind of altercation between the victim and suspect before shots rang out. They also say they found a gun at the scene and there's no risk to the public. Officers say they know who they're looking for in connection with the shooting. They're asking that person to contact a lawyer and turn themselves in. Colette's here for our first look at the forecast. Hope you got a chance to enjoy the long weekend weather. It was sunny and great for fireworks.
Yeah, some really nice conditions that we had, Shannon. And, you know, today, nice in terms of the temperatures, but the sky conditions a little bit off. You know, we should be seeing blue skies, but again, those hazy conditions because of what's happening in Western Canada with the smokes and the forest fires. And if we look at the upper winds, you can kind of see that direct pipeline pushing things towards the lower Great Lakes from northern BC and Alberta. But the other features here, there is a trough. They have been getting some significant rainfall in that part of the country where they need it, although it also adds to the flooding risks there. And then we have this ridge and then another trough. And this is what I want to bring your attention to right here, as we have a cold front that's coming our way. And so we are going to see some changes tomorrow. Along that front, ahead of it, you see some of this rainfall. Now, the heavier rain will be into parts of northeastern Ontario and over into Quebec, but that front is going to be sinking in our direction. So we'll at least get some midday showers coming our way. Overnight tonight, other than the haze, mostly clear conditions with that sun setting at 8:44. And then we see 6 a.m., all right, some cloud building in, then those showers towards mid-morning, and then peeling out by mid-afternoon and clearing out again. But some breezy conditions as that front passes, and also some cooler air will be coming our way behind it. So for now, very comfortable temperatures, and overnight tonight, still a mild one here, Shannon. But I'll show you a little later in the show the temperatures tomorrow night, and those ones are going to be quite a bit chillier.
Ooh, okay. Thanks, Colette. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Turning to some other news next, the race to lead the Ontario Liberals getting some serious consideration from a high-profile politician. Bonnie Crombie, the mayor of Mississauga, says she's exploring a bid. Plus, another candidate has officially signed on. Lorenda Redekop has our story.
It begins, and I go to a candidate meeting.
She's not in the race yet. Instead, Bonnie Crombie says she's officially exploring a bid for Liberal leader. She has a website boasting a big committee backing her of 40 fellow Liberals. Here's what she envisions for the party.
To move the Liberal Party back to the centre, because I think we have veered off to the left. I think this current administration is too far to the right, and there are people in both camps that are very comfortable in the middle, as I am. And I will share that there may be even a few Conservative members that sent me a note of good wishes today, too.
She sets herself apart from the Premier on recent government decisions, including Ontario Place.
That may or may not be the right decision, but where was the consultation process? Why isn't there more transparency around the agreement? You know, that's the kind of thing that you need a bit of sunshine put on that. The decision to open the Greenbelt.
She plans on continuing as mayor of Mississauga for now, pursuing a bid on evenings and weekends. She's led Mississauga for 9 years, a former MP with a background in business, seen as a star candidate in Liberal circles. This is less than a week after the news that the province will break up Peel Region, something she fought for.
I think she played her cards very well.
This strategist believes the Crombie effect could mean some people thinking about running won't.
Why go up against someone that will probably outraise you on the money front? They'll probably sign up more members than typical leadership candidates.
Today, a second candidate was confirmed to be in the race. MPP Ted Hsu quietly registered on the weekend, though he says an event is coming.
And I'm running for the Ontario Liberal leadership.
He joins MP Nate Erskine-Smith. Others exploring a bid, MPPs Adil Shamji and Stephanie Bowman, plus MPP Yasser Naqvi, who says he expects to decide in the next week or two. Crombie says she'll take a few weeks, possibly a month, to gauge support before she makes her final decision. It costs $100,000 to enter the race. Candidates have until September 5th to register, with a new Liberal leader to be confirmed December 2nd. Lorenda Radicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
Meantime, Toronto City Councillor Gary Crawford will run for the Progressive Conservatives in the Scarborough-Guildwood by-election. The seat is up for grabs after Mitzi Hunter announced her bid to become mayor. Now, Crawford is in his 4th term as councillor and serves as the city's budget chief. The PCs say Crawford will continue to sit on council during the campaign. There's no date yet set for that by-election. Well, to the other race next, this one for the top job at Toronto City Hall. Today, some of the top candidates tackled 2 of the biggest issues facing our city, housing affordability and mental health. Talia Ricci takes us through their plans.
On the campaign trail today, 2 candidates who have served as chair of the city's housing committee touched on Toronto's desperate need for more homes. Anna Bailau says the city is lacking options in between towers and single-family homes.
I would champion land use, planning, and zoning reform, including legalizing walk-up apartments on secondary transit routes across Toronto, upzoning avenues to be as of right for 8 to 12 stories, and relaxing shadow guidelines, which have for too long arbitrarily increased the cost of building.
Brad Bradford said the city needs to get its finances in check before it can become more affordable to live in. But today he focused more on criticizing frontrunner Olivia Chow than the details of his own platform.
She's racking up a bill for taxpayers with no credible plan to pay for it.
Meanwhile, Mark Saunders unveiled his plan for mental health and addiction support, in part by expanding the mobile crisis teams.
I will launch and lead a mayor's wellness circle to create an all-hands-on-deck approach with the full weight of the mayor's office behind it. We need to look at wraparound supports that are available 24 hours a day. And we need to create at least 2 streams of support. One for people that live with mental health, and one for people that suffer from addiction. Plan is always first.
But when asked how he'd foot the bill,
and the first thing that I will do is I will be looking at the books in detail to see where money is going.
Look at this traffic flow right here.
Candidate Mitzi Hunter says she's committed to presenting a fully costed budget before voting begins. Today, focusing on a $54 million plan to make Toronto's streets safer and less congested.
Reduce road congestion by taking aim at the bottlenecks and improving traffic flow. People are rightly so fed up by the overlapping, open-ended, and ongoing construction that is causing so much slowdown. As mayor, I will more strictly enforce road restrictions across the city through traffic agents.
Voters will have the chance to see candidates go toe-to-toe on issues like these in 2 debates this week before casting their ballots on June 26th. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
I'm going to direct the new 2% hotel tax increase towards investments in arts and culture. I'm going to increase the per capita spending in arts and culture by 2% annually, or $13.5 million over the next 3 years, to help with the increasing costs of renting spaces and living in our city.
That's candidate Josh Matlow addressing what he'd do to support arts and culture in the city. Along with increasing spending, Matlow also wants to create more spaces for artists and community cultural events. If elected, he says he'll open up local schools and libraries. Matlow also wants to remove restrictions on street performances. He says, having once been an actor himself, he understands how tough it is for artists to live in the city. Despite the addition of 25 new speed cameras, Parkside Drive continues to be the most ticketed street in Toronto. Now, this is the 10th time the street has earned that title over the last 12 months. The speed camera has now accounted for nearly 25,000 speeding tickets, generating more than $2.6 million in revenue. Community group Safe Parkside says clearly more needs to be done. Swimming is a big part of the school experience for many TDSB students, but now the aquatics programs at 20 schools are in jeopardy due to cuts.
So we thought this must be a mistake. We can clearly make this right and not have the students know that, these cuts were happening. But as time went on, it just became apparent that the board had kind of made this weird mistake, but they were sticking to it. They kind of said, well, yeah, we made this mistake, but now we can't afford to fix it because fixing it's going to cost $1 million. And we thought, well, the cut was an accident in the first place, so it should be kind of put back with everything else.
Swim programs at 8 elementary schools and 12 high schools will be affected. The TDSB cut swim instructors miscalculating how many would be needed to keep the programs alive. The cuts were made with the promise that they would not impact programming, but after review, they realized it wouldn't be possible to maintain the same service level. The board says there will be a rotating cast of instructors coming through every other week. For more than 70 years, Canada's premier thoroughbred horse race has been known as the Queen's Plate. But with the coronation of King Charles, the race is getting a new name. Greg Ross spoke with the daughter of the last jockey to win the King's Plate back in 1951.
Used to be in this first stall here, where there's 4-horse stall there, it used to be anyway.
It had been a long time since Georgina McDougall had been at the stables at Woodbine Racetrack. When she was a kid, her father, Alfred Bavington, practically lived here. What's it like being back here and kind of being around?
Wow, it's like coming back in time.
Her only memories of her father on the track here were as an outrider whose job, among other things, was to lead horses to the starting gate for races. But her father had become a legend in thoroughbred racing long before she was born.
He was the last jockey to win the King's Plate in 1951.
Back then, this coveted race was held at the old Woodbine Park. The date was May 26, 1951. In that race, Alf Bavington was on the back of a horse named Major Factor, who was considered a long shot to win. The favorite was a horse named Britannia.
In the backstretch, the Major was 18th. Britannia was in the lead majority of the race, and he came around the final turn and on the outside and won by a length, which is like an incredible win to make up that much ground.
This miniature replica of the silks her father wore in that race proudly hung on the wall of her childhood home as a reminder of one of her father's greatest accomplishments as a jockey.
He actually rode in other King's Plates, but this is the only one that he won, so it was extra special for him.
Little did he know at the time, the official name of that race would change for nearly 3/4 of a century. Bavington died at the age of 80 in 2001. McDougall and her family say they plan to be here for what will once again be known as the King's Plate later this summer.
I think our whole family has felt like this is a cool moment to celebrate my dad. It's our history. It's, my dad was my rock, so I'm gonna cry.
The King's Plate will run on August 20th at Woodbine Racetrack, more than 72 years after Alf Bavington and his horse Major Factor won the last race with that name. Greg Ross, CBC News.
More chronically ill patients will now be able to access hospice downtown. Palliative care professionals say the addition of end-of-life spaces at Kensington Health is welcome news, but as Meg Roberts shows us, they'd like to see more open up across Ontario.
3, 2, 1.
9 new beds are being added to Kensington Hospice, nearly doubling its capacity and making it one of the largest single-site hospice residents in the country.
We are helping to meet the needs of the community and alleviating the strain on our system by providing the right care at the right time in the right place.
It's promising news for Caroline Boast. Her brother Rob was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer.
I really had no idea what a hospice was or how it worked, but I definitely knew I couldn't afford it, and I didn't need to afford it. Everyone in Canada is entitled to this, and people don't know that.
He ended up spending his last months at Kensington Hospice.
They did everything to possibly accommodate the dying and the living.
This expansion will help meet the growing needs of this community for years to come.
This palliative care physician wants other communities to have access to hospice as well. He's helping to plan a new center in North York, which he says currently doesn't have any options.
There are vast areas where no care exists. So the difficulty for a family to get downtown to a wonderful hospice like Kensington, therefore we need to We need to bring the hospice to the communities across the city and across the province.
Funding continues to be an issue. The group building the North York Hospice has raised $20 million, but needs more. Back in April, cash-strapped hospices in Ontario asked the province to boost annual funding because of inflation.
As part of our plan to expand palliative care services right across the province, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Kensington Hospice says it costs taxpayers $1,100 a day for an individual's hospital stay and only $500 a day in palliative care. Meg Roberts, CBC News, Toronto.
The Ontario government is removing an experience requirement that they say was unfair and prevented many immigrants from getting a job.
This move is a game changer that will help thousands of qualified immigrant engineers pursue their dreams over the coming years.
Professional Engineers Ontario is the first association to remove the requirement from their application criteria. The Working for Workers Act was passed in 2021, eliminating the requirement for Canadian work experience in more than 30 occupations. This allows immigrants with training experience in their countries of origin the opportunity to work in their field in Ontario. About 300,000 jobs are unfilled right across the province, including thousands in engineering. The government says it costs the province billions in lost productivity. Police need your help tracking down a man wanted for throwing hot coffee at a Tim's employee. Officers releasing a number of images of the man they're looking for. It happened last Thursday at the Tim's in the Shepherd and Yorkland Boulevard area. Police say the man walked up to the drive-through window and ordered a coffee. Now, the employee at first refused to serve the man because he wasn't in a car, but the woman later allowed the man to order, at which point he threw the hot coffee at her. She received severe burns to her back and arm. The man took off. He's described as 5 feet 8 inches tall, about 30 to 35 years old, with a thin build and curly hair down his neck. We are following a developing story out of Quebec. Police say they've identified the suspect behind the murder of a teenage girl nearly 50 years ago. Sarah Levitt has more on how DNA evidence led officers to the killer.
The results confirm 100% that Franklin Romine is the killer. Those words from Longueuil police putting an end to a decades-long investigation into who killed Sharon Pryor in 1975.
Our distraught mom knew that for her daughter, Sharon, to be home even a minute late was very out of character. Something was wrong indeed.
16-year-old Sharon Pryor was supposed to meet up with friends at a pizza place near her home in Montreal. She never made it. Days later, her body was found in Longueuil, just south of Montreal. She had been raped and murdered. For decades, just who did it was never known. In 2019, though, there was a breakthrough thanks to advancement in DNA testing. The field of suspects was narrowed down to one family name, Romine. One Franklin Romine was living in Montreal at the time of the murder. Romine died in 1982 and was buried in his native West Virginia. 2 weeks ago, police were able to exhume his body, and they say the DNA is conclusive.
I went right away to Sharon's family house to tell them the results. There was a lot of emotion.
A sense of relief for Pryor's family.
The solving of Sharon's case will never bring Sharon back. But knowing that her killer is no longer on this earth and cannot kill anymore brings us to somewhat of a closure this long chapter of our lives.
The family ended their remarks with a message specifically for Sharon. Now you can truly rest in peace. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Longueuil, Quebec.
150 years ago today, Canada's iconic Mounties were first formed, back then known as the Northwest Mounted Police. But after decades of scandals and tragedy, there are increasing questions whether it's time to scrap the RCMP. Catherine Tunney is in Surrey, one of the cities considering big change.
It's the Mounties who patrol the streets of Surrey, BC. For now.
I do believe it's time to have a second look.
This man was brought in to replace the RCMP, building the new Surrey Police Service from the ground up. His pitch? A new force that will be more accountable than the Mounties. While political infighting has put the plan on hold in Surrey, he says more and more regions are reaching out.
The question is, can an organization do everything? Can they do federal policing, national security, and then do boots on the ground policing?
The question was front and center after the Nova Scotia mass shooting in 2020, where systemic failures within the RCMP were laid bare. This year, an inquiry into the tragedy called for a review of the RCMP's role in local policing.
I think those discussions are healthy. I think we as an organization need to learn from and evolve as a result of those discussions to make ourselves better.
While those discussions are playing out across the country, the top Mountie in BC argues the RCMP's model is what makes it an asset.
The knowledge, skills, and expertise that we are able to bring to any one public safety issue, whether small in a rural area or internationally, I think that's something that we shouldn't shy away from, but that we should celebrate.
But the ability to deliver on its mandate isn't the only reason why some are questioning the force. The force has been plagued by a sexual assault scandal, called out for systemic racism, and most recently, the mass shooting in Nova Scotia exposed fundamental flaws with the RCMP. It has some observers wondering if the force is even capable of change.
The glory of the Red Surge is long gone. It's long gone.
Change management was Eli Sopo's job at the RCMP, but he saw little willingness for it. He says the stakes are too high to ignore the conversation.
I guarantee you, you will have another major disaster, severe injuries, death, and complete chaos because of poor communications, poor issues management, poor leadership and structures.
While the decision about the Surrey Police Service rests with City Hall, the federal government says it will support communities that decide to replace the Mounties, which could fundamentally change the iconic Canadian symbol for decades to come. Catherine Tunney, CBC News, Surrey, BC.
Overseas now, Russia and Ukraine are trading accusations about who is behind the latest attack near the Ukrainian border. Abby Kuavasin takes us through what we've learned.
We know that two anti-Kremlin militias say they took part in the incursion into Russia's Belgorod region, which started on Monday. This attack was an armored advance, which also saw these fighters seize a few villages for a time. There were also reports of an explosion at FSB, Russian intelligence headquarters in the region. The fighters say they are ethnic Russians fighting for their country in exile. One group is the Freedom of Russian Legion, which says it is time to end Putin's dictatorship. Let's have a listen.
We are Russians, just like you. We want our children to grow up in peace and be free so they can travel, study and be happy. But this is not possible in Putin's Russia.
The Russian Defense Ministry now claims 70 fighters have been killed and various vehicles destroyed, and that they have pushed back the incursion. All of this extremely difficult to verify. We do know Moscow is blaming Ukrainian saboteurs for the incident, though. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov says Kyiv is doing this to distract from its loss in Bakhmut, while Ukraine says it still maintains a foothold there. Ukraine also says it is not involved in this attack, that it would not send its own troops into Russian territory. This is not the first such incursion into Russian territory, though, during this war, and officials had tightened security in regions near Ukraine before. Some military experts, like Justin Crump here in the United Kingdom, say Moscow has to worry now not only about the front line, but its entire border with Ukraine as well, which further complicates its defense. Abby Kuavasin, CBC News, London.
Colette is back and talking about this cool down. You got me thinking if I have to haul in some planters inside from the garden.
I know. I don't know if you've been doing that dance as well, where we put them out because we want to enjoy them, you know, on the deck or the patio, but then we get a cool night and have to pull them in or put them in the garage or sitting in the living room. So we may be doing that dance a couple of nights this week. Let me get you to that in just a moment. Showing you, though, how expansive that smoke is in the upper atmosphere from where it originates here in Western Canada, and then, as we know, in our skies with the hazy conditions. You know, today the sun's going to set at 8:44, and it does provide, when you can see the sunset, a pretty brilliant sunset, but obviously some issues continuing as it spreads out all across North America. Now, where you see this area here, that's actually where we've got a frontal boundary, and the cooler air behind that, and then ahead of it, the milder temperatures, like 25 degrees in Windsor currently, 28 in Chicago, and then Thunder Bay at 11 in the core of this colder air, right? And then not that far away, Winnipeg at 22. So this is kind of where this all sits, Moosonee at 5, and that's going to be sinking southward. That's why I'm bringing your attention to it. So there it is. We do have those rain showers along the front. Heavier rains into northern Ontario and into Quebec, but it does dry out a little bit as it stretches out and sinks southward. So there'll be more significant rain into Quebec, a little bit there into eastern Ontario, and we get tagged by it, as I was showing you earlier in the show. So kind of mid to late morning tomorrow, and then it's gone by the time we get into the early afternoon, and we'll get clearing behind this front, but some breezy conditions as it goes through as well. Then the ridge builds down, so it's not tonight you need to worry about your plants. It's tomorrow night where we'll see the risk of some patchy frost development once again, but at least during the day it brings us the sunshine. That is when we don't have the smoke providing the hazy conditions. So overnight temperatures tonight, we're going to find that reading dropping down. We're not going to just be at 15. It's going to keep dropping and putting us at 12 for that overnight low, but kind of in the mid-teens through much of the overnight hours. And then tomorrow, a cap on the daytime heating because that front's going to go through. So we'll put it at 16 and breezy. And then you see we get the sun, a little cooler, the cooler nights here too, but the temperatures start climbing again as we approach the weekend, Shannon. We can put the plants back out again.
Okay, that's the good news. Just a dance, not tonight, the night after.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
A 20-year-old from Quebec is the first ever woman named to Canada's men's para-ice hockey team, something she says has been one of her biggest dreams and goals ever since cancer took her leg more than a decade ago. Here she is in her own words.
My first goal is not to inspire people, it's more to just achieve my goals, live my dream, and open doors to other women. My name is Raphael Toulignan. I will represent Team Canada at the World Championship. When I found out that I will be the first woman to attempt the World Championship with Team Canada, I feel very proud of myself. I'm also nervous, but it still feels very unreal to me.
Everybody was super excited. It's a good step forward in the sport to see that a female athlete is at the World Championship level.
Playing with the boys is it's cool. I really like to. I'm very a physical player, so that part of the game really I'm very excited when I go on the ice and I can hit people.
Raphael always puts in the second effort. She goes in the corner, she likes to hit.
The impact of this in the future will be I hopefully will be incredible. I'm aware that I am a role model, potentially a role model for many little girls and women around Canada and probably around the world too. I am very proud and I'm very honored to have this role, but it also comes with a pressure.
Now she has to take care of this place because many girls wants the place now, so she's going to continue to work a lot to stay at this level.
The message I will send to any little girls, women around Canada and around the world is to never give up on your dreams. A lot of people in the last couple years didn't believe that I will be able to achieve that, but at the end of the day, if you believe in yourself and you truly work hard and you know that you can achieve it, no one can stop you because you're just going to prove them wrong.
Incredible advice. Okay, Ferrari fans are racing to Denmark to test drive the latest Lego creation.
It's absolutely incredible.
Fans fell in love with this sporty model. The wheels are real, but the rest of it is crafted with Lego blocks that took designers a year to build. It will now be on permanent display at Denmark's Lego Museum. Now that's a popular spot because the toy was invented by a Danish carpenter more than 90 years ago. We are heading to break, but here's a look at where the markets closed today. The TSX dropped 205 points. The Dow fell 231 points. The dollar trading slightly down to 74.04 cents U.S. Stay with us. We're back in 3 minutes. Doors Open Toronto is kicking off later this week with more than 140 buildings and sites taking part. One of them is the legendary music venue El Mocambo. The biggest names in the biz have taken the stage there. And did you know it's not just a music venue?
Welcome to the El Mocambo. 74 years of music history lives right here. Everyone that's on a stair is someone that's performed here. Every photo is them actually performing here, and every neon sign is a lyric from a song. Everything that you see in the building happened in this building over the course of time.
Wow. It's been good fun, actually. It wasn't really fun.
So funny enough, I was a Ricky Martin impersonator 25 years ago. So I've always had a love for music. I've been shaking my bonbon for several years in my life. So when I got this opportunity to celebrate live music every day, it became a dream come true.
Welcome to the El Mocambo.
The rumors are true. The El Mocambo went through a $37 million renovation. And one of my favorite features, we added an elevator and a production facility. A state-of-the-art, world-class production facility with live recordings being made over here and then full TV productions being made right over there. I always joke around and say, you know, this was a white man's rock joint for so long. And since the rebirth of the El Mocambo, we are a very diverse playground, you know, celebrating all types of music, celebrating all types of events, from weddings to bar mitzvahs to concerts. I mean, you name it. If it's got music attached, it better be happening here. Our venue went through a 4-year renovation after being closed for 7 years. We are so excited to be featured with Doors Open Toronto. We're honored to be on their Rolodex of venues. All concert goers, all music lovers, and you know, really help people understand the legacy of this building and that, you know, the music will keep on living.
Please welcome to the El Mocambo, to Toronto and to Canada, the Rolling Stones!
And I always say the best thing about the El Mocambo is that everyone that's been here over the course of the 75 years, everyone has an El Mocambo story. The most legendary story is that, you know, the Rolling Stones performed here in 1977 under the pseudonym The Cockroaches. It really put the El Mocambo on the map, and you never know. Hopefully, when the Rolling Stones finish this last tour, I'm just saying, if the Rolling Stones are watching right now, they should finish their tour back at the El Mocambo.
Okay, this next story comes with fair warning. Get ready for some adorable dogs. A community in central BC has teamed up with a local business to make dog strollers. Their aim is to show people and canines of all mobility levels how they can take in the great outdoors. Here's Jennifer Norwell.
Entrepreneur Anne-Marie Fleming has an idea that she thinks tourists are going to lap up.
I think tourism needs to be a little creative these days.
She's been working with the district of 100 Mile House on a unique project, offering her dog strollers, or doggers, for free to visitors. Some dogs struggle on longer walks, but the community wanted to be accessible.
It's really been a big benefit for us, all of us, four-legged and two-legged.
Grieve and her dog Ellie have been using the dogger for 6 years. That means they get out of the house more often.
If you're wondering how to use the dog stroller, simple. Just pick the dog up, put the dog in the stroller, clip him in. The only thing, there's a 60-pound limit. Plus, you can cover them up if it's hot.
It's a free service like a dog stroller that might entice Stephanie Worley to hit the road to 100 Mile from her home in Kamloops.
You live for your dog, really.
She worries 16-year-old Chevy doesn't know the limits of his aging bones.
And everything you do is a focus around them, you know, like especially when you're traveling.
Come here. Oh,
This tourism expert sees the potential in pitching to pooch owners.
The statistics we see on consumer behavior around pet spending are all increasing significantly and have gone way up since the pandemic.
That's what Fleming hopes happens, so that others can enjoy taking their dogs on chauffeured tours of the caribou.
I could honestly see that people will plan their trip if we could say you get the option of taking a dog stroller from visitor centers, you know, in 4 or 5 places along the highway, that they plan their trips that way.
Her hope, to see doggers at tourist stops across BC so that people can plan their travels around their pups. Jennifer Norwell, CBC News, 100 Mile House.
Colette, I think she just wanted an excuse to pick up that pug and put it in the stroller. So cute. You and I, we're all dog lovers here. We all use those, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we are, and I love that idea. My own dog, 80 pounds, wouldn't meet the cutoff and needs the exercise of the walk. But yeah, I love seeing that, and I think it is very helpful. All right, showing you what's going on here in Northern Ontario. Why am I showing you this? Well, because at this time of year, we're getting closer to the end of May. I mean, keeping in mind the frost advisory, yeah, but it's different in Northern Ontario in terms of what the criteria is. But this is how cool it's going to be tonight once that front moves through. So Sudbury, the low tonight down to freezing. North Bay is going to drop to freezing as well. And we're not going to get quite that cool. And it's certainly not for tonight, but it's a heads up tomorrow night. Some chillier air will be coming our way. So 12 tonight, sunrise at 5:44. We're getting 15 hours of daylight now with the sunset at 8:45 tomorrow. We'll have some midday showers kind of move in and then move out, and a little bit breezy as that front is passing through. And so then it's after that, there you go, tomorrow night down to 4. Patchy frost possible, and then some beautiful days ahead with the temperature slowly coming back up again, Shannon.
For our short week, we're already counting down to the weekend and those temperatures.
Funny how that happens, yes.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Colette.
You're welcome.
That's our show for you tonight. Thanks for watching. Marivelle is back with you tomorrow night at 6. We'll see you soon.